Louisiana, politics is theater. It's a little bit of tragedy, a little bit of farce, and probably with a little bit of light opera thrown in as well. But essentially, it's politics as entertainment for the most part.
When they failed to impeach me in 1920, they indicted me in 1921. And when I wiggled through that, I managed to become governor in 1928. And they impeached me in 1929.
At 21, they head for law school after hours, perched high on a bar stool, studying hard the laws of their selection, planning for that future election. Back at home, they open up a practice, hanging shingles from bureaus to nactis, charging them fees fat and huge, cause what they crave is Baton Rouge. Louisiana boys, they're raised on politics, down in the city and out in the sticks. Louisiana boys wanna go all the way, they wanna be governor someday. Pick it now, political finger.
Because of the climate, because of the tradition of flamboyance in politics, that now it seems incumbent upon politicians to have to develop some kind of a routine in order to get elected.
Who was the greatest politician you've seen in Louisiana during your lifetime?
My lifetime, it would have to be every time I shave and look in the mirror, I see him.
We've been choked by a 9-cent sales.
In the ring of Louisiana's political advertising, there are few holes barred.
The Louisiana Ship of State. With Captain Dave Treen at the helm, Louisiana suffered the largest deficit in the state's history.
It's Mr. Softy, former Assistant DA Art Lentini. He talks tough, but has a soft heart, especially when prosecuting criminals. In his last 2 years as an assistant DA, Mr. Softy tried only 8 jury trials while plea bargaining 135 others. He agreed to reduce the charges in 135 cases, including 3 murders and 4 aggravated rapes. As a crime fighter, Art Lentini, Mr. Softy, has made a mess.
We like to think that Louisiana Boys is a fun, enjoyable film, but we also are not just simply having a good time. There is a subtext here, which is that Louisiana does have a lot of problems. It's a very poor state, and it periodically ranks bottom in a lot of categories.
I think now we're not in so much in political slavery like we are in economic slavery.
But Louisiana's broke, I'm telling you. Economy is bad.
We have in the New Orleans area a grocery chain called Schwegman, which is known for selling high-volume, relatively cheap groceries, and has become something of a hero of the people. And come election time, Mr. Schwegman, the owner, will print on the bag his endorsement, so that every customer going home will take with them Mr. Schwegman's advice on what to do in this election.
This is the official bag of the 1991 Louisiana gubernatorial election. You can see on the one hand you've got David Duke looking rather pensive, and on the other half you have the current governor, a 4-time elected governor and winner of the election, Edwin Edwards, looking rather professorial. This bag was to be worn over one's head to symbolize the choices in the election of 1991.
Nowadays, when people think of Louisiana politics, they think of David Duke, the ex-Klansman, because he ran a very credible race and got an enormous percentage of the white vote in the 91 governor's race. We've always taken sort of what we think of as a longer view of David Duke. And we see him in the tradition of there's a certain percentage of Louisiana voters who will always vote for the extreme candidate on race. And if you look at the news headlines from 30 years ago in the waning days of segregation, there were a lot crazier people than David Duke out there, and they were attaining pretty high office.
I love the nigger, but I know that he can't run this country. The breeding that's behind him is not what it takes to build a civilization, and we don't intend to let our civilization go to ruin.
Part of Louisiana politics is that's part of the mix. But also Louisiana, if you look at over traditionally, has also been more progressive than all the other states surrounding it. And we'd like to think that in Louisiana Boys, we're sort of showing the whole mix. It isn't just, let's be scared of David Duke. He's one of the players. As filmmakers, we have tried for a long time to go beyond what we consider a lot of people's prejudices against documentary on the grounds of the documentaries can be very dour and very much good for you, teaching you something you need to know.
We think it's important to use humor. We think it's important to use music in certain kinds of ways. To us, that makes our message all that much more accessible.
And we felt that documentary is a great teaching tool, but you can also have a hell of a good time watching it. And so we have maybe chosen subjects and chosen approaches that we think people will really respond to just on a visceral, almost entertainment level. And I think more and more people are coming around to our way of thinking. There are a lot more documentary films recently that I would say are stylistically akin to ours, where you can just go and have a good time, and still a point can be made, a political point or an educational point.